Once upon a time, in a world full of noise and ambition, there existed two individuals whose paths were destined to cross, creating a story like no other. It was a love story that transcended the ordinary, not bound by borders or conventions, but instead, it was rooted in the uniqueness of their journeys. Chapter 1: The First Encounter. Donald Trump, the businessman who had built an empire from the ground up, was no stranger to power, influence, and attention. He was a man whose life had been scrutinized in the press, whose name was known in every corner of the world. But behind the brash public persona, there was always a quiet yearning for something more, a sense that there was more to life than the glitz and glamour of skyscrapers and real estate deals. He was a man who, despite all his success, had yet to find the one person who could truly understand him. Melania Knauss was born in Slovenia, a country many could hardly find on a map. She grew up with a quiet grace, a strong sense of independence, and a keen understanding of the world. She had a career as a model, traveling the world and meeting people from all walks of life. But despite the excitement of the fashion world, there was always a part of her that felt incomplete. She was searching for something, someone who could match her in ways deeper than the surface. It was in 1998, at a party hosted by one of New York's most influential fashion industry figures, that their worlds collided. The room was filled with the glitterati of the city, models, actors, and entrepreneurs, but for Donald, his eyes found her almost immediately. She was standing across the room, her poised elegance seeming to stand out even in such a glamorous crowd. Melania was dressed in a black dress that seemed to shimmer under the lights, her dark hair cascading in waves over her shoulders. Donald approached her, his trademark confidence evident in the way he moved through the crowd. He introduced himself with that famous charm. "I'm Donald Trump," he said, his voice smooth and self-assured. Melania looked at him, her gaze both intrigued and cautious. "Melania," she replied, her accent thick but graceful. "It's a pleasure to meet you." They spoke for a while, about business, about life, and about the future. What began as a casual conversation quickly turned into something deeper, something that made both of them pause, as if they had just found something rare in a world full of distractions. There was an immediate connection, an undeniable chemistry that neither of them could ignore. Donald was struck by her intelligence and composure. Melania, in turn, was captivated by his ambitious spirit and charisma. But what truly stood out to her was his vulnerability, hidden beneath the bravado of a man who had built his empire. There was something more. From that night on, their connection only deepened. They spent time together in New York, getting to know one another beyond the public personas they both carried. Donald took Melania to his iconic Trump Tower, showing her his world of luxury and business, while Melania shared stories from her childhood in Slovenia, her upbringing, the lessons she had learned, and the sense of independence that had shaped her. What surprised Donald most was Melania's ability to keep things grounded. Despite the glitz and glamour of the life she had built as a model, she had a remarkable calmness about her. She didn't seem dazzled by his wealth or status. Instead, she saw the man behind the headlines, a man who was ambitious, yes, but also searching for something more meaningful. Their relationship wasn't without its challenges. Donald's life was one of constant scrutiny, and Melania had her share of pressure as well, both from her career and the public eye. But they supported each other. Donald respected Melania's quiet strength, and Melania found comfort in Donald's unwavering drive. In the early years, Melania was cautious about diving into the relationship, taking her time to truly understand Donald's world. But over time, she found herself falling deeply in love with him, his passion, his vision, his ambition, and even the parts of him that were imperfect. Donald, for his part, was fascinated by Melania's grace and intellect, and as the days turned into months, he realized that she was the one he had been waiting for all along. They traveled together, to Mar-a-Lago in Florida, to the grandeur of his properties, and to quiet retreats where they could escape the world and simply be themselves. For Donald, there was something about Melania that felt like home, a sense of peace that he had never known before. As the years passed, Donald knew that Melania was the woman he wanted by his side, no matter what the future held. In 2004, during a trip to the beautiful island of Palm Beach, he made a decision. The sun was setting over the ocean, casting a golden glow over the horizon, and he knew that this was the moment to ask Melania the most important question of his life. He had planned it all out, of course, with the same meticulous detail that he applied to every aspect of his life. The dinner was exquisite, the setting perfect, and the mood just right. But as the night wore on, Donald found himself feeling nervous in a way he had never felt before. The powerful businessman, the mogul, was humbled by the thought of asking Melania to spend her life with him. As the evening drew to a close, with the moonlight shimmering on the water, Donald took Melania's hand. "Melania," he began, his voice unusually soft, "I want to spend the rest of my life with you. You're the one I've been looking for." Melania's eyes searched his face for a moment, and then, with a smile that lit up her entire being, she nodded. "Yes," she said simply, her voice full of love. "Yes, Donald." The moment was perfect, a new chapter in their lives had begun. It was a promise to each other, not just of love, but of partnership, of standing together in the face of the challenges ahead. On January 22, 2005, Donald Trump and Melania Knauss were married in a lavish ceremony at the Episcopal Church of Bethesda by the Sea in Palm Beach. The world watched as the couple exchanged vows, surrounded by family, friends, and the glittering elite. The day was as magnificent as the couple themselves, a reflection of their combined ambitions and dreams. For Melania, the wedding was the beginning of an extraordinary new life, a life filled with challenges, triumphs, and the constant spotlight that came with being married to one of the most well-known figures in the world. But through it all, she remained a pillar of strength. She embraced her role not just as Donald's wife, but as an individual in her own right, finding purpose in the causes she cared about, particularly in the realm of children's issues and advocating for a better world for them. For Donald, the marriage represented a deeper connection to a person who truly understood him. With Melania by his side, he felt more complete, more driven than ever before. Their shared vision of success, both personal and professional, kept them united, and they found balance in each other's differences. They raised their son, Baron, in the midst of their ever-changing lives, with Melania instilling in him the same sense of discipline and grace she had learned growing up. The couple remained a strong force together, their love evolving through each phase of their journey, through successes, public scrutiny, and the challenges of life. Donald and Melania's love story was never typical. It was a story of two people from different worlds who found each other against the odds, a story of mutual respect and shared dreams. Together, they weathered storms and celebrated triumphs, proving that even in the spotlight, love could thrive. Their relationship was built on a foundation of trust, support, and unwavering commitment. They had built not just a life together, but a legacy. A legacy not just of wealth or fame, but of a love that had been tested by time and emerged stronger for it. In the quiet moments, when the world's gaze was no longer upon them, Donald and Melania would find comfort in each other, knowing that the greatest success they had ever achieved was not the buildings they had built, but the love they had cultivated. And so, their love story continued, an extraordinary journey of two people who had found something rare and enduring in a world that often moved too fast. Through it all, they remained a team, proving that love, in its truest form, could conquer anything.